Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Perf Sprint for Web. This is the second session in the Perf Sprint for Web where we will be listening to Santosh Yadav, who's a Google developer expert, as he talks about performant Angular applications and how we can optimize Angular applications in general. Before that, let me share a little bit about the community that we are working on, which is all about web. So, yep. So, All About Web is an awesome community of web developers, and our mission is to create amazingly vibrant community of web developers around the world. And since it mainly focuses on the web, we have different sorts of tiers in which we run and different tracks. And so one of them is the front end technologies track where we talk about Angular, React, Vue, Svelte, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, etc. Then we have the backend track wherein we will be talking about Node.js, Dino, Python, Go, and all these backend related stuff. And then we have tools like Docker, Kubernetes, GCP, Azure, and AWS. And finally, we have techniques around all these different tracks that we have covered. And these techniques would consider things like the build, bundling, performance, SEO, etc. This is our team. So we have Ashok Vishwakarma, who is a Google developer expert based out in India. And then we have Gaurav Chauhan, who is the founder of the Youth Project. Then there's me, Siddharth Ajmera, who's a Google developer expert based out in Sydney, Australia. And finally, we have Srishti Jain, who is a senior software developer at Advantage Technologies. And today's event is all about web and performance, how we can optimize our applications while building our apps on different technologies. And so these different technologies will cover things like Svelte, Angular, Vue, and React. One of our sessions right before this one was effective data visualization using Svelte and D3 that was covered by Matthias. Just in case you are interested in watching this talk as well, please do visit this particular bit.ly link right here, and then you will be taken to a recorded version of this talk. The, the talk that we are going to see now is about optimizing an Angular app. And with that, I'd like to welcome our speaker, Mr. Santosh Yadav. So, hi Santosh, how's it going?
Uh, hey Siddharth, hi. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too, Santosh. So, are you ready?
Oh, I'm always ready, right?
Yeah, that's true. All right. So I'll just add you.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's all.
Okay. Hey everyone. I'm just okay. Sorry. Hey everyone. I'm Santosh Yadav, and I'm one of the Google developer expert from India, Pune. And thanks a lot to this. It's all about web team to actually give me the opportunity to present this particular topic because this topic is related to optimizing an Angular app, and which I do love. And uh, everything which I'm going to talk about is something which I have learned in previous 2 years optimizing my own apps because when I joined my last project, we were struggling with large bundle size, and somehow we wanted to decrease the bundle size. Uh, there are a lot of techniques which are available in case Angular takes care of most of the things, right? If I talk about performance, so it has the new IV engine, which is based on based on the optimizing performance of your application. We have ng4 with ng track by you can use track by, but this session will be more on how you can actually decrease your bundle size, because at the end that's what matters, right? I mean, once you have created your application, you have to deploy it, and if you are serving a lot of bundle size, it's a problem. It's a problem for your users, it's a problem for your organization. So we'll see how we can actually optimize it. And as I said, it will be based on my own experiments and own uh, codes which I have done in the past. And in case you have any questions in future, you can always talk to me on my Twitter handle Santosh Yadav Dev, or you can just simply go to my portfolio, which is santoshayadav.dev, or you can just Google Santosh Yadav Dev, and you will be able to see my LinkedIn profile and everything which is available there. So let's go ahead and get started. How to The biggest problem with optimizing your application is like you have to struggle, right? So you have to adjust one piece by one, which this of course this guy is doing in this gif. So we have to go ahead and see each part of our application if something is broken or not, because while you are trying to fix each or smaller part of your application, it may have a bigger impact. And on the same note, I was just reading one book which is called as Refactoring from Martin Fowler, which is really good book around the same. And I could have followed something from that book if I read it I read it before. But yeah, it's okay, right? So whenever you learn something new, it's good for you. So always whenever you start optimizing your application, I mean from a larger bundle size to smaller bundle size, the first thing you have to do is take baby steps. So you have to go ahead and adjust some part of your code, then take some rest, take some time, see if your application is working fine. If in case you have test, nothing better than that. So the first thing is always check your bundle. So you have to verify what's inside your bundle. And before after because after this you can actually go ahead and optimize your application. So how to do that? So there is something called known as source map explorer, which exists and which is actually suggested by Angular team as well. So if you have seen some recent talks from Igor Minar, or maybe from Stephen Fluin, he is also talking a lot about Source Map Explorer, which is a really good tool, but it requires a little bit of manual configuration. So I never liked that manual configuration to be done. So what I did is I created a new tool based on it, where you don't have to do any manual configuration and you can just do this. You can just go ahead and say ng add ngx builders / analyze to your application, right? So to do that, what I have done is I have already created an application which is available here. And the current bundle size is around MB. So let me tell you about this application. It has three components, three modules, and the size is around an MB, which I checked last time. And I have added this particular tool which is available here, so you might be able to see ngx builder / analyze. The recent version is 2.0.0, which I released last month. And then to avoid running this command manually, which is mentioned here, ng run project analyze. So what I've done is I have added this as a npm command, so I can just run it directly from my command prompt. So I'll say, okay, let's run this npm run analyze, and you can do that too. The first thing is to figure out how big your bundle is, and this is where this particular tool is going to help us. So let's do that, and it will take some time to run it. So okay, so once we know about our bundle size, we will go ahead and see some techniques which will actually try to which will decrease your the initial bundle as well as the maybe total bundle size. It depends upon your application, as Ivy already reduces your bundle. But let's see what we get from this particular tool first. This particular tool will build your application in prod mode with source map enabled. And yeah, it will also not consider the budgets in case you have any budgets. We are going to talk about budgets as well in one of the slides, and we'll see how important budgets are. They are really important, and in case you are aware of it and not using it, please do that. Please use it. Okay, looks like, let me just open another git bash maybe. Okay, so let's run this command. It will give me some data which will be useful for us. And I'll close this so it's visible to you. And meanwhile we can just talk. We can see the configuration which is followed here. So what I have done is I've created an application which uses Angular material, and it has custom themes. So there is a themes folder which is available, which has some materials. We have defined primary, secondary color, and then I have some shared module. You might have seen something like this in case you are working in Angular, and which I really hate about. I never want to use something like this, and we'll talk about why and how to remove this as well. And then in my routing configuration, you can see we have three routes, and all three are not lazy loaded right now. They are part of your build, and then we'll see how we can actually avoid it, remove it. Mhm. Started compiling. See. Okay. So whenever you are in hurry, your laptop somehow starts working slow. So meanwhile, what I will do is I'll just put this code, whatever we do right now, into another branch, so I can reuse it later. So I'll just create a new branch, and I'll call it as, let's say, all about web perf. Let's hope it is compiled now. Okay, it's stuck on 10%. Percent. I'm not sure what I'm running right now on my laptop because it should not take that much time. Okay, so it's Google Chrome, Visual Studio, this range.
So meanwhile, Santosh, there's a
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Uh, People are really interested in the theme that you use.
Okay. So it's so you can actually create an application with Angular material, and you can just choose custom theme, and it's pretty simple. So I mean, I can show you the application after I run, or I can
No,
just share.
the VS Code theme, I mean.
Okay, VS Code theme.
Yeah.
Okay, so I use, I think, one from uh,
Is this by John Papa?
no, this is not from John Papa. It is from known as what? Which theme is this? Extension. It's, I think, Night Owl from, yeah. This is not Night Owl.
Hmm.
VS Code. Sarah Dressner. So you can just go ahead and download it. Night Owl by Sarah Dressner.
Okay.
Because most of us are Night Owl, right? So you,
I am for sure. So,
yeah, yeah. I agree that. I have stopped. I don't. I mean, you will not find me awake after 11.
mhm. You
Okay,
have
so
certain
fine.
health conditions now. So,
Yeah. Okay, so finally, I think build is completed. Got it takes some time. I mean, based on the machine you're using. Of course, I have a good configuration, but somehow, right? So once you are into production, I mean, you're doing a live session, it works really slow. Okay, so finally we have some data, and you may not be able to see everything, but let's see what's in this particular code. So right now, we this is our production build, as I spoke about, and we have the combined bundle size of 1007 kb. If you see what's included in your bundle, so you will see Angular is around 648 KB, which includes material as well. So you have material, you have Angular, you have CDK, everything is available, and you can see animation, router, forms, common JS, and then this is your SRC folder, which is around 284 KB. Interesting, right? So you have three modules with one component each, and then you have around 284 KB of your SRC folder right now, and total size of 1007 KB. And this is what you have to first figure out. Now, next thing which I will do is I will try to break the entire application into smaller chunks, because I don't want to basically serve this entire 1007 KB to my end user. Of course, he don't care about employee, or he don't care about department. So first step which you should do is, as I said, baby steps, right? So you have to take baby steps. So first thing is lazy loading. So how does lazy loading helps here? So you get separate feature bundles, right? So whenever you implement lazy loading, you will get different bundle for employee, different bundle for department, and then you can go ahead and load them on demand. So you don't have to actually serve the entire bundle at once. And then, of course, the other advantage which you are getting out of it is you are serving less code on your first serve. So your first serve, which is very important, otherwise the user may go away, right? So if your website is still loading after 5 seconds, he will say, okay, this is not going to happen, it looks like, and he will just leave your application, which you don't want to. So serve less code, and then we will talk about something called preloading, that's later on. So let's start doing that. So we'll see how we can actually lazy load your components. First thing first, so I'll go to app module.ts. I'll remove the employee, department, and dashboard component from here. So I'll say, okay, remove employee, remove department, and dashboard. And similarly, I will remove them from here. So I'll say, okay, this is uh, employee, this is department, and this is dashboard. So I've removed it. And now I'll go to each. So I already have a module. So you can see here, I created a module in past for dashboard, but I don't have a module for department, I think. So department and employee, they need a module as well, because we are splitting them into multiple chunks, right? So right now my department has department component. Similarly, employee has employee component. So I'll do it for one, and then you can actually see the advantage. So I'll say, okay, I'll run npm run ng. The reason I have to do npm run is I installed nvm somehow on my Windows, and the global commands does not work anymore, which is really strange. Maybe I'll just uninstall nvm, because I don't have to maintain multiple node versions. So I'll say npm run ng g module, and then I'll say, okay, let's do it for department. Okay. So I'll say department, and then I'll also create hyphen. I'll create a routing module as well. So I'll pass ROU routing, and then I'll pass route name. So I'll say, okay, this is hyphen route. Will be department, and I have to say in which module I want to register this lazy loading module. So I'll say, okay, hyphen module is app. It should create a department module. It should create a department routing module. Okay. Some error. What's this? Okay, so the components already exist. Okay, cool. So I'll say create department module and routing module. That's it. In case, Anand, so in case you want to check your bundle size in any other way, there is something known as Webpack Analyzer or Webpack Explorer, something called as. But I would not suggest that. You can go ahead and use this particular tool, which is Source Map Explorer, and which is of course preferred by the Angular team as well. Okay, so now we have a module. We have a routing module. So I have already removed department component from the root, right? So I already did that. And here from map routing module, I'll just go ahead and change this configuration. So I'll say, okay, rather than component, I'll say this is load children, right? So load children, and then we will mention it to import. We'll be using the syntax to lazy load our module. And let me just close this so it's visible now. Yeah. And here in import, you will provide the path to the module, which is department module. So I'll say, okay, this is dot slash department slash this is department module, and then you have to say then m dot department module. So we have now lazy loaded this particular component, and let's format this. And if you're wondering why I don't use shortcuts, I'm really bad at it. So never mind. Okay, so now we have configured this department as load as lazy loaded module. I'll just remove the import as well. Sometimes this import may cause some issues in case you are doing lazy loading, because it's if it is available as an import, your compiler may try to use this particular file which is still not loaded and may cause an issue. So now we have this department module. Now department component needs to be registered. So a little bit of refactoring. You will see I'll be doing a lot of refactoring here. That's what this entire thing is all about. So now we have department component registered here, and your app routing includes your department lazy loaded module, and app module doesn't know anything about anything. And the only thing which I have to add here is right now I have shared module as well, which includes all the material related modules. So I'll just say, okay, give me shared module 2. And in department component, I think I'm using something known as, if I'm using form, no, I'm not using form. So we are saved. Okay, so this is it. Now let's go ahead and see the bundle size again, where we will run the same command, which we did, npm run analyze, and hope this time it works faster. So if you remember earlier, it was 1007 KB. And now let's try to see how much this time it is. So I'll just see, okay, this was the previous one, 1007 KB. And let me just remove it from that so we can actually see the difference after it is compiled. It worked faster, which is good. Okay, somehow there are some build errors. It says mat card content, web component, button, mat icon. I thought I added shared module here. Shared module contains all material related uh, imports, but looks like there is something which is missing. Let's see what's missing there. So you have there are few. I think there is something related to grid, mat grid. So let's see if mat grid is added here. Not if not, I will just add it again. Mat grid list module, and this is added. Okay, and what we have more is okay related to mat grid, mat card module. Somehow it should be here, but let's see. Mat card module. We have imports department component as part of import. Try to do npm start, and it should not throw an exception at least. Because this all this is available in my shared module. So dashboard. Okay, it is related to dashboard component. Okay. Somehow I was looking at department. And why is dashboard component is giving me an error? Dashboard. Everything is related to dashboard or employee. Okay, this is strange. Because right now we have just removed this particular module, which is app module, shared module. Okay, we removed, my bad. So I removed dashboard component from here, which I don't want it to do. Dashboard component and employee component. Right now we just wanted to focus on one module, so we can see if there is any improvement in the existing bundle size. I think it should work now. Okay, so we'll just run this analyzer again. So we'll see how many bundles which we how many bundle size which we can save by just splitting one particular lazy loaded module. Right? So if I notice this, it was SRC, which is 284 KB. Now the load total bundle size, which you can see the combined one, we should be able to see two bundles which will be available. Just don't notice this polyfills or runtime because they are really small. Even polyfills are like 36 KB and it may reduce in future, or maybe they may go away. So you don't have to do anything here, but try to not use any polyfills. If you're trying to use some or implement some feature which requires polyfills, think again. If you can find out some ES module for that, that would be great, and then you can use that rather than using this one. And this is our main ES 2015, so 969 KB. So combined is 1007 KB, which is our initial load. I mean, initial bundle would be this one, 1007 KB. So let's see if it is built again. 56 KB, 56%. So I'll do for one module, and then you can actually take this code and try to do it by your own, or try to do it in your application, and send me a feedback on maybe Twitter or LinkedIn, on that if that helped you in your case. Because of course this is something which I tried in my multiple application, and it gave me some reduction in my bundle size. In my last application, I reduced my initial bundle size from 9 MB to actually 3.5 MB, which is if of course, which is really not good, but at least from 9 MB to 3 MB, 3.6 MB is that again better than what we had, right? And even we reduce the entire build size or entire application size by around 3 MB by using all this refactoring techniques. The only thing about is this, the build takes a little bit time. Okay, now it is compiled, and now it will give you the same data, but now I think the total bundle size will increase a little bit. But let's see the initial bundle size, and you can see, okay, now we have two bundles available. So we have this is our lazy loaded module. Let me just increase the size. And right now, if you see the combined bundle size is 895 KB. Remember the earlier, it was around more than 1007 KB, which is, of course, we almost saved around how much? 100 KB, more than 100 KB. And our initial bundle size, which was around 900 KB, actually came down to 856 KB. And my lazy loaded module is 570 bytes. And now we have just saved 100 KB by just doing lazy loading and nothing else. Now you can try it on both the modules. Try to implement lazy loading on your employee and dashboard, and then see what happens. So this is the first technique which you can do. Of course, try to figure out what is loaded inside your bundle, and then do the lazy loading as first thing which you can do. But you may need to actually preload some modules, and this is where preloading strategy helps. There are multiple ways to do that. The first one, which is actually created by Minko, is NGX Quick Link. What NGX Quick Link does is it will try to see if your user is idle and he's not performing any action, and there is enough bandwidth to actually download the lazy loaded module. So what you can do is you can just use NGX Quick Link, and let me just show you the configuration where you can use it. You can just go to your app routing module, and here for root, and you can pass extra options. So you can say preloading strategy, And here you can pass nginx quick link, or it has some default values. I think you can pass to no preloading or preload all modules. And then preload all modules is something which you're saying that I want to preload everything by once you load the application. But of course, it is not preferred way. You can actually use nginx quick link, which is a lot better than this. Or you can use another solution, which is again created by Minko, and uh, this is known as guest parser. So guest parser actually collects all the data, all the information, and using Google Analytics. And if you have Google Analytics, this is the best solution which we can have. So based on Google Analytics data, it will try to identify if what could be the next action performed by your user, or what module he will try to access next. So what you can do is you can configure every module as a lazy loaded module, and then leave it to the guest parser. So guest parser will, of course, initially it will not work as expected, because it depends upon the analytics data user. So you have to wait for maybe a few months before it performs better. The next, which is my favorite, so avoid shared module. So in our application we had two shared modules. So as we have seen here, we have a big shared module, which is where we have all the material imports, right? So this is the one. And then we had another shared module where we had a lot of reusable components in our application with all the services and everything. And it used to import another modules. So um, what I did is I removed shared module first, because that was the quickest thing which we could do. And then we tried to remove the big shared module which we had, and the another shared module in my application. So let's try to remove this. So first thing which I will do is, of course, baby steps, right? So you have to take one step at a time. So don't directly go ahead and delete shared module. Otherwise, you will have a lot of errors, and then you will be like, what to do next? So I will remove the shared module first. And as soon as I do that, you will see there will be a lot of build errors which you will get. Okay, so now we have some errors, and you can easily, those errors are readable. So this is what I love about Ivy, because all the errors are readable. You can easily read them, what it is and what it is trying to tell you. So let's go through one by one. I don't have, I think most of the errors should be related to the mat paginator and mat table. So you will see, just a second. Okay, so I'll go ahead and import the modules which are required. So the first one which we can see is, it says, okay, mat paginator is not available. So I'll say, okay, mat paginator module. So I need mat paginator module. And then you have again mat paginator. Okay, most of the things are mat paginator. Let's save it and then see if we get any more errors here. Okay, so everything is compiled, and now we are back. So we have two modules, right? So now we have two modules, and now one of the module does not use shared module. So let's go ahead and run this analyzer again, and you can do it for other modules as well. And at the end, get rid of that shared module file. Remove it from your application. Right now, we are using it at multiple places. We are using it at in your in your app module. So it is available for everyone, but I'm not using most of it, right? So if you see in department component, I was just using the mat paginator. That's it. And apart from that, I was not using anything else, and it was just giving me error. I think, okay, so I have to include mat table module as well, and anything else. Let's go ahead and see the template, and everything works fine. So this is it. So now we have removed this two, and rather than that, we have so everything department module needs, it's part of its own module. So we are not reusing it. So let's see it now. So with after this we have one more thing. I think we should be able to cover it. And as I said, you need to refactor a lot of modules in case you have a big application. In my project, we had like around more than 170 components and more than 50 modules. Okay, so it takes time. It takes time, but try to do it in smaller parts. Otherwise, of course, your entire application will break, and then you will be fixing it overnight, which is not a good thing. So okay, so let's see our bundle size. So from 1007 KB, we came to 895 KB. Initial or the sorry main module, which is 969 KB, came down to 856 KB, and now we are doing this one where we are removing the shared module from one of the particular module, and our application size should increase a little bit. So the best thing to do would be actually remove shared module from entire application and move every module which is required. For example, if I go to dashboard uses mat grid or mat card and mat card, mat grid, and mat icon, I think somewhere, or mat menu. So these are the modules which are used by dashboard. Then you can refactor dashboard next, and then you can go to employee, and then you can refactor employee, and try to implement lazy loading as well. So you will see the final bundle size which is available is a lot smaller. So okay, now let's go ahead and see. Now we have our third dashboard which is available, or third data which is available. So 895 KB to 893 KB. You might be wondering, okay, just 2 KB. But remember, in case you have enterprise application, it won't be the only module which you are going to refactor, right? So you will be having a lot similar modules where you will be having shared module, and this is where it helps. Even for web, even a KB matters. Remember that. So even if you can optimize your application by a KB, it's a good step. At least you have done something. So 895 KB to 893 KB, and then you have your initial bundle size, your lazy loaded bundle size, which is 570 bytes, and your main bundle size, which is 856 to 854. So you reduced it by 2 KB, which is good, right? As I said, KB matters. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see the next step. And here, what we are going to do is, now we've implemented shared module. And the next thing which you should do is always use budgets. So always set budgets for your application. And how budgets help? In my application, we had the budgets set to around 10 MB. So let me show you where you actually set the budgets. So you can go to angular.json, and this is the budgets option which is available inside your. Just increase the font size. Yeah. So if you go to your build configuration, right? So your build options, you will see something known as budgets. And then you have multiple options. So there are a few options which are available. For example, you have initial, which is available here. We'll talk about everything. So initial, you have bundle, you have all script, all, and then any component style, any script, and any. So initial bundle size is something which contains your ES20, I mean the main bundle size plus polyfills and styles.js. By default, if you start a new application, it is 2 MB, and maximum error is 5 MB, which is really huge, considering your application may be smaller. So if you have a small scale application, you should actually save this to, or move this to around 500 KB. So to be sure, and this should be 200 KB maximum warning for smaller application. For big enterprise application, we in my current application, we have it around maximum error is around 3.5 MB, which is of course less than 5 MB, which is mentioned here, and the maximum warning is around 3 MB, because this is where I want to achieve. That's what I want to achieve. 3 MB should be my bundle size, and maximum error should be around in my application it is around 3.5 MB. So what's the advantage here? I mean, must be wondering what we are going to achieve here by using this bundle size or budget size. remember, as a team, there are multiple developers who are working, right? So I may be working on some feature, and let's say Siddharth is working on another feature, or let's say Anand is working on another feature. And by mistake, I pushed some code which increased the bundle size from 500 KB to 1 MB, which is a red signal, which is a red signal that I am doing something wrong. If you have your budget size save to around let's say 10 MB, you will never get these errors. You won't be able to catch it. That's what's going wrong, because most of the time we see the code, okay, it looks fine, and then we just merge it. We don't go ahead and see the details, what was the previous bundle size, or what was the previous build size, and what's the current build size. This is where it helps. So we right now have 3.6 MB as the maximum error, and if someone goes beyond 3.6 MB, it's a red flag for us. If it's matter of 10 KB, or let's say between 1 to 10 KB, it's fine. But it also comes with some conditions, that you might have added some new module, or you might have some added some new components. But if there is nothing added, and then your application grows by let's say 1 MB, then it's a red flag. You should go ahead and try to figure out what's going wrong. And this has helped us into the current scenario as well, where we refactored everything, and then we did one of the developers did some code, and after that our bundle size was increased by around 500 MB, sorry, not 500 MB, 500 KB. And then we figured out, okay, this is some wrong imports which are causing it, and we were able to catch it because of this budgets. So you have initial bundles, so you have bundle size, so each bundle should be this much, all scripts. So if you remember, you can also use scripts option to include all the scripts, right? So you can mention all scripts should not go beyond let's say 100 KB, which is external scripts. Entire application size, if you want to set, you can go ahead and say all. And which should be preferred, let's say I don't want my entire app to grow beyond 6 MB. I can just go ahead and say, okay, don't go beyond 6 MB, otherwise I'll fail. Component styles are really important. In my application, I figured out there are few components where component style was more than 100 KB, and I was really shocked, because that was due to some mistake, which we'll talk about next. And you can also include any script, so single script which should not go beyond maybe 10 KB or 15 KB, or any is any file should not go beyond this particular budgets. Okay, so the next thing which we are going to talk about is, I'll just roll back this to 5 MB. We are going to talk about is this styling. So in my application, I figured out that there are multiple places where I'm importing some module, some SCSS files, right? So we have, for example, let's say I'll go to dashboard. So we have something known as this themes SCSS variable. So what I figured out is at a lot of places I have this SCSS variable imported, but it is not being used. So I was able to remove it, and at some places this is more of hygiene which you should maintain, and at some places even this SCSS themes file, which is our main file kind of for styling, it was also imported at some places. So once I removed it, I figured out, okay, there are few bytes which I can save, because it was wrong, right? The code was wrong. Then I removed all the unwanted imports from my application, and I could see my application size was reduced by 500 KB, which was really huge. And what we did is it was introduced by mistake. And then there was one more technique which I applied, and which I have mentioned in my references section. Reduce your bundle size through this component styling technique. It's a blog post which is available on in depth. You can read about it more, but I will just give you a little bit idea right now, because we still have 7 minutes, and this is the last thing which I want to show you. So what I figured out is when I create or when I import this SCSS files, they are added into final bundles. And that was really interesting, because I don't want it to include them. It depends. So there is a scenario where you don't want to actually take this path. In case you are aware of shadow DOMs, right? So sorry, not shadow DOMs, but there is a property. Let me just show you. I think so there is a view encapsulation property which exists on all the components, right? So I can just say view encapsulation, not view encapsulation. And then you can set it to, there are 3 properties which are available. So you can say emulated, native, shadow DOM. So in case you want to use shadow DOM, which is like each component should have its own styling, you don't want to take this path. So generally what I prefer using none. So none allows you to override the styling. So what I did is I used encapsulation to none in all the entire components. And then I wrapped it inside using the host binding syntax. So host binding decorator is something which exists here. So I'll say, okay, this is host binding, and I'll just import this host binding from Angular, yeah, Angular core. And then I gave a property called class, and then I'll say, okay, this is class equals to, the value would be the same name as my selector name. There is a reason, because anyone should be able to easily override my CSS, and that was our scenario, because we wanted to override some components at few places, and we never wanted to contain entire styling into a component. So we could actually easily implement this one. So now we have host binding, now app department, and in this case, as you said, encapsulation to none, your entire styling, your entire styling is actually will be added into your parent style or the root style. So I can now wrap this inside something like this. So I did this into my entire application. This the same. I applied this all the same concept in my entire application. Each component I could save around 20 KB. So let me just show you the current this thing. So you can see my employee component is actually how much, 93 KB. Even if I go to this one where we have department, so you can see right now department module is this one, and department component is 125 bytes. So it doesn't matter, right? But in my employee component or dashboard component, you can see it's 90 KB because of this styling issues. So I could remove all this using the view encapsulation to none, and then I did this particular thing everywhere inside my entire application, and I could reduce my final bundle size by more than 1 MB, because we had like more than 100 components, and 20 KB each will actually decrease your entire component by, let's say, if I have 100 into 20, how much? It's 2000, right? So but of course all 100 component doesn't contain the styling or a CSS, so I could achieve around 1.5 k or 1.5 MB at the end. And we also did some restructuring of our modules. We figured out, okay, by using this data, so we figured out, okay, there are a few components which are not required when my application loads, or maybe if I'm into, let's say, department module, and I could see, okay, there are a few modules which are loaded with department module which I never wanted to do. It was just a wrong import or a wrong architectural decision which was taken, and then we could remove all those modules, and then we saved another 1 MB. So from 9 MB we came down to 6.6 MB. So let me show you the data as well. I think I had that data somewhere. So this is the same data for our application, and I'll just do this zoom in. Okay, so you can see okay, this is not the one which I wanted to show you before. Yeah. So this is around when I did all the styling changes. So this came down to 7.3 MB, and then we did some of the module refactoring, and which came down to 6.66 MB. And before that, we also had, let me show you the previous build, which is, so this was before we started all the optimization, right? So this includes the lazy loading one. So we were at 8.68 MB, and after we did all the styling changes, we came down to 7.3 MB. And then after this, after we did some refactoring of our modules, and we removed all the shared modules, and finally we landed at 6.6 MB. And my final bundle size, you can see it's right now 3.76 MB, which got reduced to around 3.4. That's why I said 3.5, but it came down around 3.4 MB. So this is what I chose. I mean, I of course there was some experiment which I did in my application, and this is how I was able to optimize or decrease the final build for my application to from 9 MB, which was initially when before we started all this optimization technique, and then we finally came to initial bundle size to around 3.4 4 MB or 3.5 MB around. And apart from this, there are a few more things which I have not covered, because of course I wanted to show you more of a code. But a lot of developers still don't deploy the application in prod mode. So make sure you are deploying your application using prod mode. You are using a server where you have zzipped enabled. That's really important. In our case, we have a server where we have enabled zzip. Generally, I deploy my own application on Netlify, because Netlify does that for free for me, because my application is like open source and it's available for everyone, and it does it. So for example, right now, if I see my final bundle size, which is 6.6 MB, am I serving 6.6 MB? No, we are not. We have zzip enabled on my server, and which serves the final bundle to around 800 KB. That's the final size, and my main bundle size is around 500 KB. So that's what we save if I'm using gzip enabled server. So these are few references, so you can refer to the blog post by Stephen Fluin, is my Angular performance normal. Then we have I have written some experiment around the styling one, where I was able to reduce my bundle size using some styling technique. May not be preferred for you if you are using Shadow DOM, as I've already told you about. And then there was another one, stops using shared module, where I had actually shown some data how your use removing your shared module decreases your bundle size, and that's what we saw, right? We saw it live. And then finally, you can also refer to the day 3 keynote by Igor Minar at ngconf hardwired. This ngconf hardwired is available on YouTube. So that's it. So yeah, that's it. I mean, this is what it was all about. I would love to hear some success stories after this. And in case you are able to optimize your bundle size after this talk, it would be really great. And if you do some maybe some other experiment related to your optimizing your bundle size, you can of course write about it and share with the community. Yeah, that's it. I think in case you have any questions, we can take it, and then I think my time is up anyways.
Hi Santosh, how are you?
Hey Gaurav, hi. I'm good. How are you?
I'm also good. So I was just attending your session and thank you so much for giving your time over here. I can see
Yeah.
there are a few questions that we
Yeah.
have got here. Okay, so let me
Mhm.
check. So Anand is asking if they have reduced the budget in the Angular 10. So any
Yeah.
comments on that?
Yeah, actually, thanks Anand for asking this question. So in Angular 10, you have something known as strict flag. So you can create an Angular application using strict flag. And the advantage of strict flag is it can remove the unwanted export, I mean, unused export. So the problem before Angular 10 was, in case you have written some code, for example, let me just show you this one. Uh, can I? Yeah. So right now, I've created this component, right? So you can see I have created this component and it has export keyword available. So Angular 9 cannot actually remove this code from your final bundle size, or even you have used some function, or maybe you have written some, let's say, NGRX code where you used a lot of exports, right? So Angular cannot remove it. And now this functionality is available in Angular 10 if you are using strict mode. So you can just create an application using strict mode, and it will just get rid of all this unused export as well, which is really great, because I could see it can improve your application. I mean, decrease your bundle size from some MBs to below KBs. So that's what I wanted to. Actually, I want to try this out in my current application as well. But in Angular 10, it requires actually an extra package.json file, which needs to be included in your src folder. And you have to set a flag which is called as side effects false. So you are telling your application that it is safe to remove all the export keywords. But yes, that's available, and you can achieve that using strict flag. Yeah, and anything else?
Yeah, and like there was one more question. So if you can see on the screen, Darpan is
Uh,
asking when you're using store and values should go into the store. For example, if I do have one form containing title and some dates, should all of them go to the store or each value change, or what should be the approach?
Okay, this is more about NGRX, how you can actually update your NGRX store. So It depends, right? So how your data structure is. For example, if I'm having a single object where I contain all the values, all the form fields, so in that case, of course, you can choose whether you want to update a single value or you want to update entire value at once. I mean, the once the entire form is updated. So it's up to you. I mean, you can do as you want to, because anyways, NGRX store takes care of when you need to run the change detection, right? So when you are how your scenario is, whether you want to your emit your data once each value is updated, or you just care about it once your entire object is updated. So it's up to you. I think it's something which is related to your own application or scenario or business rule.
Ah, that's nice. So there is one more question that I think even I would love to have an answer on that, and that is regarding the build times.
Ah,
And like, so I was asking that he's working on a very large Angular application, takes around 15 minutes to build. So any optimization tricks that you want to
yes.
share about that?
Yes. If you have really large enterprise application and which takes 15 minutes to build, I would suggest move to NX. Okay, move to NX, and you can utilize something known as NX cache, which can actually cache your builds. So, and even during your feature builds, what you can do is you can enable only those parts of your build which is like which has changed. For example, let's say, yeah, if I have a big application and I have one application and then maybe 5 to 6 libraries which are getting built with the my main application, I can tell them, okay, only if let's say one library has changed, just go ahead and build that one library. This is something which you can enable for all your feature branches. Don't do that for your master branch, otherwise you will be screwed and your application will fail. So but for feature branches, at least you can do that. On top of that, you can actually go ahead and use an NX Cloud, which offers functionality where your all the builds are cached. So even though you even you can go ahead and do it for your master builds. So you can say, okay, if nothing has changed, don't rebuild everything. For example, you made some changes to your test. Do you need to rebuild your application, entire application? No, may not be. But you can actually set those flags using NX. NX is the best approach. Otherwise, if you still go ahead and want to use Angular CLI, I would suggest just play around ngcc. Ngcc allows you to do multiple parallel builds, but that's a little bit complicated. So NX is the best solution, easiest solution which I can offer.
That's really great. So I think you already mentioned there's like Ashish is asking about
Mhm.
the what's the difference between ng build and ng build prod.
Yeah.
So I think you have already covered that, right?
Yes, I mean, if you're not aware, Ashish, so ng build prod will actually create your production build. So where all the files are zzipped, sorry, not zzipped, but mified version of what you have. You also don't get the source maps when you do ng build hyphen prod, but which you will get using ng build. So and AOT is default now for everyone, even though ng build or ng build prod. So you don't have to care about AOT anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So think we don't have any other question.
Okay,
Yes.
that's great.
Yeah. So that was really a very good talk, and thank you, Santosh, for joining us. So guys who are already here, so this is like a series of event. Every event is covering a single platform. So the next event is about Vue.js, and I think it might have already started by now.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that is AAW Tarun. So if you want to learn more about how to create good Vue.js application that scales, so you can actually tune it over there. So that's it. And I think, yeah, okay, cool. So we don't have any other questions. So yeah, we'll be closing out this stream. Again, thanks a lot, Santosh, for giving your time over here and also like giving such an insightful information. So thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. Bye bye.